The first time I heard about the tunnel, I thought it was just another urban legend, a hidden passageway buried beneath an old church, rumored to lead straight to hell. Most dismissed it as nonsense, a story to scare children. But when my friend Daniel showed up to my apartment one night, eyes wide with terror, I knew there was more to it.
"You have to see it,"
he whispered.
"It's real."
I should have shut the door. I should have told him to leave, but curiosity gnawed at me. That's how 3 days later, we found ourselves in front of St. Catherine's Chapel, an abandoned relic of crumbling stone and shattered stained glass. "Through here," Daniel muttered, leading me to a rusted door at the back. The metal groaned as it opened, revealing a narrow staircase winding downward into the earth. A sickly, rotting smell filled my nose. "We don't have to do this," I said. Daniel turned to me, face pale and slick with sweat.
"You don't understand. I went down there before. I didn't reach the bottom, but something followed me back."
He pulled down his collar, revealing deep, blackened scratches across his collarbone. Not scabs, not bruises, something else. I swallowed my fear and followed him inside. The deeper we went, the more wrong everything felt. The stone walls were slick, pulsating with something that looked disturbingly like veins. The air grew thick, hot, heavy, and filled with a whispering sound just beyond my hearing. Then, we heard it, a distant, low moan. Daniel stopped, gripping my arm.
"It knows we're here."
"What knows?" I whispered. He didn't answer. We pressed on, the stairs spiraling deeper than seemed physically possible. The deeper we went, the more the walls changed, shifting from stone to something dark and fleshy. The whispering grew louder, not just noise anymore. Words. "Turn back. Leave. He waits." My legs locked, fear rooting me in place. "We need to go." Daniel shook his head.
"Too late."
A deep guttural growl vibrated through the walls. The air itself seemed to pulse, a living, breathing thing. Then the staircase ended. We stood at the mouth of a vast cavern, lit by a deep red glow from an unseen source. The ground was scorched black, cracked like dry skin. The air smelled of sulfur and decay. I turned back. The stairway was gone. Only a wall of pulsing, veined flesh remained. We were trapped. Ahead of us, a massive gate loomed, iron and bone twisted together, covered in carvings of screaming faces. It was neither open nor closed, but shifting between both states, as if reality couldn't decide whether it should be passable. Daniel stepped forward. The gate reacted, opening just enough for us to squeeze through. Beyond the gate was a city of horrors. Buildings stretched into the darkness, constructed of bone and sinew. The streets were paved with blackened skulls. Shadows moved within shadows, whispering secrets that made my ears burn. Figures walked the streets, humanoid, but wrong. Twisted limbs, skin peeling away to reveal muscle and sinew. Their faces were blurred, shifting like smoke. They moved in silent agony, as if forced to wonder for eternity. Daniel grabbed my wrist, pulling me toward an alleyway.
"We need to keep moving."
Something was following us. The presence grew stronger, a weight pressing against my spine. I turned, and there it was. A tall figure wrapped in tattered robes, its face obscured by a featureless mask. Long, skeletal fingers twitched at its sides. It didn't walk. It glided, closing the distance between us without making a sound. Daniel let out a strangled gasp.
"It's him."
"Who?"
"The Collector."
His voice cracked.
"It takes those who don't belong."
The thing raised a hand, and the whispering around us turned to screams. The wailing of souls trapped, pleading. The Collector moved faster. Daniel grabbed my arm, yanking me forward.
"Run!"
We sprinted through the city, twisting through streets that seemed to change as we moved. Buildings melted, reforming into impossible angles. The screams followed us, the collector's presence pressing closer. Then Daniel tripped. I turned, reaching for him, but the collector was already there, its skeletal fingers wrapped around Daniel's throat. He didn't scream. He couldn't. The moment those fingers touched his skin, his mouth was gone. His eyes widened in horror as his skin cracked, splintering like porcelain. He shattered, not into flesh or bone, but into dust. The collector turned its eyeless mask towards me, and I ran. I don't know how long I ran. Time didn't exist here. The city blurred around me until I found myself standing at the edge of a black river. The water wasn't water. It was moving, shifting people. Their bodies melded together, their faces distorted in agony as they clawed at the surface, trying to escape. A boat waited at the shore, a skeletal figure at the helm. I knew what this was. The ferryman extended a hand. No words, just a silent demand. "I don't have a coin," I whispered. It didn't matter. The moment I stepped into the boat, the world tilted. When I opened my eyes, I was no longer on the river. I stood before a massive throne carved from a single piece of obsidian, pulsating with veins of molten fire. And he was there. Not a horned monster, not a grotesque demon. No, Lucifer was beautiful. His features were sharp, almost ethereal. His skin was flawless, but his eyes were endless voids. He smiled. "You came far," he said, his voice smooth as silk. "Why?" I couldn't answer. He stepped forward, and suddenly I was nothing. A speck before a being beyond comprehension. His gaze peeled away my existence, exposing every fear, every sin. "You don't belong here," he mused. "Yet you came, seeking, searching." His smile widened. "You are interesting." He raised a hand, and the world ripped apart. I gasped, sucking in air like a drowning man. I was back, lying on the floor of St. Catherine's Chapel, the morning sun filtering through broken stained glass. But Daniel was gone. I scrambled to my feet, searching for any sign of him. Nothing. Only a single black feather rested where he had stood. And then I heard it. A whisper. "He waits." I turned. The rusted door to the tunnel was still open. The staircase still descended into darkness. And it was waiting for me.